The comment of the day goes to Sebastian here, and he says, Jar Jar is better than Kylo. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. The best answer gets a pin. What's up, NS soldiers? I'm the Alliance, and today I will be running down the top 10 worst things / moments from The Last Jedi, and giving my suggestions on how to fix them or at least improve them. Now, with most of my videos, my choices are entirely based on my opinion, so if you don't agree with my choices, that's fine, but I do ask that you keep an open mind and wait till the end of the video to voice your own opinions. Now, with that said, if you enjoy this video, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn notifications for more Star Wars content. But without further ado, let's begin. At number 10, I have Yoda's Ghost. So I have Yoda's Ghost at number 10 because I love the fact that Yoda showed up. I think he was a fun addition and served a relatively important role in Luke's life, so I was glad to see him, but he is on this list for two separate reasons. The first reason may sound a little nitpicky, so I'm just going to label that one first, but I was just not a fan of the puppet Yoda. To me, it was obviously a puppet, and it seemed to lack the life and realism of the puppet we saw in episodes 5 and 6. I honestly would have preferred the CGI Yoda we got in the prequels, and although, like I mentioned, this isn't a massive complaint, I feel as though this Yoda kind of took me out of the movie somewhat. Now, with the nitpicky reason out of the way, let's get to the real reason. In the movie, it is shown that Yoda, as a Force ghost, was able to summon a lightning bolt from the sky and strike the ancient Jedi tree. And although I'll admit, it is a cool scene, we have never seen Force ghosts affect the material world like this, at least in canon, so it begs the question, if Yoda can generate or wield that much power with relatively minimal effort, then how much power could he actually use if he was trying? Not only that, but we know for a fact that Anakin and Obi-Wan are Force ghosts as well. So just imagine how much power these three Force ghosts could wield if they combine their strength. I'm willing to bet it'd be a lot, probably enough to kill Snoke. So, although it was cool to see Yoda do what he did, in a way, it does kind of open the Star Wars universe up to more plot holes. At number 9, I have Phasma not being used. Again. I honestly feel bad for the character of Phasma. She was initially marketed to be the new Boba Fett of the sequel trilogy, and, well, that's actually what she was, kind of. What I mean by this is she was initially presented as a hardcore villain, a stormtrooper elite, who was ruthless and badass, just like Boba Fett. But just like Boba Fett, her truly awesome feats are featured in books and other forms of media. For the movies, however, she literally does nothing. If they wanted to improve her in this film, the best thing they could do, in my opinion, was just save her for episode 9. I mean, just think about it. The Last Jedi's story narrative doesn't really need her in it. And instead of shoehorning her in to sell more merchandise, save her for episode 9. Just think about this for a second. In episode 7, from a certain point of view, Phasma was responsible for destroying Starkiller Base. So maybe she felt the weight of her actions, or the rest of the First Order found out, and so she went into hiding. And maybe she'll show up again in the future where she's actually fighting against the First Order on the side of the Resistance. Or even better, what if we took her character and replaced her with DJ's character in The Last Jedi? Think about it. Finn and Rose needed someone who could get past the Supremacy shields, so they needed a code breaker or someone with clearance codes. And given Phasma's recent departure, her clearance code could still work. Therefore, we could actually see Phasma's character shift from an evil stormtrooper elite to a person who sees the faults of the First Order and wants to put an end to it. Plus, we could actually see some character development between her and Finn. First, we see them as adversaries, and later on, they become friends, or something like that. Whatever the case, I'm pretty sure she actually survived The Last Jedi, and we'll see her in episode 9. At number 8, I have Finn's and Rose's romance, I guess? So for me, I think Rose was an alright character. She didn't really have to be in the film, but I didn't mind her. She definitely doesn't deserve to be called the new Jar Jar like some people are calling her. But although I don't hate her character, I'm not sold on the whole romance between her and Finn. To me, it feels forced for the sake of story, I guess. I'm not against the idea of a love triangle between Finn, Rey, and Rose, but it just kind of felt a little odd to me. Another thing I was actually okay with was when Finn was going to sacrifice himself to destroy the cannon. Not that I wanted to see Finn die, but I feel his sacrifice would have been unpredictable and very heroic for his character. But instead, Rose knocks him out of the way, gives him a super meh kiss, and passes out. Now, I'm under the belief that they left her in a state of, is she going to die? Just in case the fans don't like her, so they can write her out of the story as she died between the events of episode 8 and 9. I, for one, while I'm not her biggest fan, I would like to see the character return, and I hope she does. At number 7, Rey's lineage revealed. Maybe. Well, we don't know yet. So if you asked anyone for their top 3 questions left open from The Force Awakens, chances are one of those questions would be, who were Rey's parents? So in The Last Jedi, after defeating Snoke's guards, Kylo reveals to Rey that her parents were drunks who sold her for booze. And although this could certainly be true, or Kylo could just be lying to Rey, I'm under the impression that Kylo was telling his truth. Not that he was necessarily lying, but he was just presenting the truth as he knew it. Perhaps Snoke told him this, or Kylo scraped up some intel on her and that's what he discovered? But whatever the case, I think there is more to Rey's lineage than stated. Now with that said, I'm okay with the whole idea of Rey coming from nothing and being able to forge her own legacy. That's awesome. But if this is what she was meant to do, why even present the idea that her parents are special or significant in the first place? Why not just have a line where they died early on in her life and she kind of had to forge for herself? Whatever the case, I'm confident that J.J. Abrams will give us a definitive answer in episode 9. Well, hopefully. At number 6, I have the character of Luke Skywalker. So depending on who you ask, some people believe Luke was done great in this film, for he went through some trauma and that has negatively affected him, so it makes sense why he would be depressed. But on the flip side, some people absolutely hate Luke's character in this film. Perhaps they remember Luke in the original trilogy being the optimistic protagonist, so the way he acted in this film was out of his character. Another reason, and I think this might be the biggest reason, is that in the previous extended universe that is now considered Legends, Luke was a badass Jedi Knight who would never give up like his canon counterpart. And although I understand both sides of the argument, I'm kind of right in the middle. While I'm not a big fan of Luke's depression and isolation, the story does take place 30 years after Return of the Jedi, and 30 years is a relatively long time all things considered. So although he was once an optimistic character, in 30 years, his personality and motives could have changed a lot. And while I personally think that Luke should have been the one to catch the blue lightsaber instead of Rey in The Force Awakens on Starkiller Base, for this film, I would have actually had more of a redemption arc for Luke in the end. Like for instance, remember when Rey sees the submerged X-Wing? I think it would have been awesome to see Luke use the Force to lift that bad boy out of the water next to Yoda, paying homage to the Empire Strikes Back scene while also establishing the return of the Luke Skywalker we know and love. He'd then use the X-Wing to fly to Crate and confront Kylo. Instead, this time he would pull an Obi-Wan in episode 4 and become a Force ghost right there in front of Kylo Ren. I think this would have made the fans happier while also allowing a brief lightsaber fight between Kylo and Luke. At number 5, I have Holdo's Secrets. While I'll admit, this movie did a good job of making me hate this character initially, then pulling a complete 180 when she sacrificed herself, her decision to keep her plans secret from Poe was just so dumb. And what's worse, later on, when we find out she did have a plan this entire time, it kinda made Poe look like a dumbass. And I feel her inclusion in this film was pretty much just there to give Poe a small antagonist. And while I don't hate her character, I do feel she could have been written better. At number 4, Holdo's death should have been Leia's death. Speaking of Holdo, Leia should have taken her spot on the ship. I think this moment would have been an epic finale for the character of Leia. I mean, it's no secret that Carrie Fisher has passed away, and the only way I could think of sending Leia out is in a self-sacrifice that allows all our heroes to escape. And so Holdo's sacrifice would have been perfect for Leia's character, sending Leia out with a bang. Literally. At number 3, we have Snoke's death. Now, I'll admit, the way they sent Snoke out in this film was unexpected and clever, and to a certain point, I rather enjoyed this scene. However, Snoke was so underutilized. He was set up to be the big bad, perhaps even stronger than Palpatine. Then, out of nowhere, he's just kind of dead already? No real explanation to who he is, where he came from, or even how powerful he was. And before I get any further in this, yes, I realize that most likely there will be a book or a comic book that explains this down the line, but as far as the movies go, these are all things that need to be addressed. That's why I am under the assumption that although the body of Snoke is dead, the powerful being that has actually been piloting Snoke's body for this entire time is still out there. And if you wanted an example of what I'm talking about, go look up Darth Vitiate and Valkorion. It's a really interesting story, and I think it would definitely clear things up with this. So, since Kylo turned on Snoke, he's gonna be pissed. So perhaps Kylo and Rey will have to team up and take down this super powerful baddie. Another reason why I think Snoke is still alive in some shape or form is because during The Last Jedi, Snoke admits to connecting Rey's and Kylo's minds together. And after he dies, they seem to still be connected, which means two things to me. Either Snoke never unbridged their minds before his death, or Snoke, in some shape or form, is still alive. But whatever the case, although I appreciate the red herring twist, I just think Snoke's character deserved a little more. At number 2, we have Luke Skywalker's death. My biggest reason for putting this at number 2 was because I don't understand why Luke had to die. It wasn't like he was mortally wounded or he necessarily needed to die for a reason. It just feels like he died because story. I mean, I understand the idea that transmitting yourself through the Force over what could be hundreds or even thousands of light years could probably take a toll on your body and mind, but is it enough to kill you? Or did it kill him? Or did he just die because he wanted to? I also heard that he died because he found peace, but why did he have to die because he found peace? There's just no explanation there. Like most things introduced in The Last Jedi, Yoda being a Force ghost and being able to summon lightning being the best example of this, Luke's death is just kind of vague, and it almost feels like he died because Snoke died, and Now it's only Rey versus Kylo left, and thereon and so forth and what have you. And it's for this reason I'm not a huge fan of Luke's death, and I feel it's overall unneeded. At number 1, I have Kanto Bites it. Hard. You all knew this was coming. The entire world and its scenes were placed in this movie for 3 reasons in my opinion. The first reason, to give something for Finn and Rose to do. The second reason, and this reason is kind of a stretch, to introduce the characters of the Codebreaker and DJ. And the third and final reason, and in my opinion probably the biggest reason for why this planet was even created, to provide social commentary. While I understand the message they are trying to send with this planet, please, 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 keep your politically correct social justice warrior shit out of here. This is Star Wars, bitch. There is a reason why everyone can see through the BS that is Kanto Bite, because its blatant disregard for the actual story and plot to present a social commentary to the audience is obvious. It honestly drags the film down. Like I said, if you want to send a deeper message to your audience, that's fine. Just make sure your story comes first and allow the message to come with it. In this case, it feels like the story took a backseat to the message. And it's for this reason Kanto Bite scenes and overall inclusion in the film feels stupid. And that's a shame because the sets and the planet itself look beautiful and interesting. So overall, it's just a massive disappointment to me. But those are my top 10 worst things / moments in The Last Jedi. What did you guys dislike about the film? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn notifications for more Star Wars content from the Net Alliance. And until next time guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.